You don't join the army in Pakistan to defend the country, you join the army in Pakistan to run the country. That India has never said we are not open to normalizing relations with Pakistan. They're the ones who have to take the first steps. Show some serious intent, and I think India will be only too happy to reciprocate. With Balakot of 2019 and now Operation Sindoor, India has sent a very clear and unambiguous message that we would not hesitate to go to war when 26/11 happened. And the horrors of it, and the 166 deaths on our soil of our own citizens, of all faiths I might add, was a chilling reminder of what Pakistan was capable of wreaking on our soil. And then, of course, our government took the very mature and responsible decision not to retaliate, to find instead method combining diplomatic pressure with the support of allies around the world. And allies is the wrong word, but partners around the world, or well-disposed countries with great influence in Pakistan around the world, to bring Pakistan to heel. We compiled an extensive dossier. We caught one of the terrorists alive. And not only our intelligence, but intelligence agencies from the Western world even recorded the chilling voice of that handler in Pakistan, giving minute-by-minute instructions to the killers in Mumbai. All that evidence copiously collected, handed over to the Pakistanis, and to this day, no one has been prosecuted, let alone punished, by the Pakistanis for their participation there in this horrendous crime. Even the Americans managed to convict 2 conspirators, one of whom has now been extradited to us, but Pakistan has not. Pakistan, of course, exists only because of the pernicious two-nation theory, disproved, as many essayists in this book have pointed out, by the very birth of Bangladesh in 1971. M.J. Akbar's essay is eloquent on that subject. And as General Kapoor's essay observes, cast themselves as the defenders of Jammu and Kashmir, which as recently as this year, the so-called Field Marshal has described as Pakistan's jugular vein. These well-worn justifications have enabled the army to tighten its grip on power by portraying India as an existential threat. And this is where it became increasingly clear to me that there was something about the makeup of the Pakistani state that made the candlelight at Wagah flicker out rather than positively in my own heart. And that is the realization that, to paraphrase Voltaire on Prussia, that whereas in India the state has an army, in Pakistan the army has a state. And that because there is no army in the world, in any country in the world, that commands a larger share of their country's GDP or national budget, not just the defense budget, the overall government budget. No army in the world controls as much as Pakistan does. The army's vested interest in maintaining its dominance is colossal. As has been pointed out in Aisha Siddiqa's famous book, you don't join the army in Pakistan to defend the country, you join the army in Pakistan to run the country. And you're there even after retirement in a wide variety of businesses: import, export, petrol stations, real estate, you name it, universities, think tanks, academic institutions. To be in the army is to be in a position of privilege. I remember an Indian friend in the days of good relations with Pakistan visiting there, and his host happened to be somebody with an army background. Or his brother had an army background, I've forgotten the details. And this friend recounted how they went to a tourist site with an enormously long queue. And this friend of his was not even in uniform, just walked up to the head and said, "I'm from the army, 2 tickets please right now," and that was it. Off they went in, bypassing an hour-long queue. And that's simply the way the country is. It wouldn't work here, it does there. And so we have to confront the fact that every Indian-initiated effort at peace, from Nehru's pact with Liaquat Ali Khan in 1950 to Vajpayee's bus journey to Lahore in 1999, Modi's Lahore outreach in December 2015 when he went. I mean, it was an amazing story, which I'm sure all of you are very familiar with, of how he was reminded by his foreign secretary when the delegation visiting Kabul was all sitting in their cars about to head to the airport, that he had to call Nawaz Sharif to wish him on his birthday. And so Modi makes the call, and Nawaz Sharif says to him, listen, you know, I'm on the way to Delhi. Why don't you stop and celebrate with me? It's also my granddaughter's wedding. And Modi, in an impulsive moment, says yes, at a time, as I think D.C. Raghavan knows well, that the High Commissioner in Islamabad didn't even have time to get to the airport to receive his Prime Minister. And off goes the Prime Minister of India to Lahore. An amazingly spontaneous gesture, a very wonderful day of bonhomie and affection and exchange of gifts and so on. And 3 weeks later, what do we get? We get a terrorist attack on Pathankot. And our Prime Minister is so disbelieving that this could be possible that he calls Nawaz Sharif and invites Pakistan to participate in the investigation into that terrorist attack, still assuming a level of good faith. And to the horror of the Indian intelligence community, the Pakistan intelligence sends people to look at the Indian airbase firsthand, and then they go back to Pakistan and announce, oh, the Indians did it to themselves. That, I think, was the last straw. That was the sense of betrayal there was so colossal. The old intent articulated by a Pakistani general to bleed India to death by 1,000 cuts was clearly manifest. And though indeed, as one of our speakers today, I've forgotten which one, so forgive me, pointed out, there were fleeting signs of progress and gestures such as the 2021 ceasefire. Was it you, Amitabh, who pointed that out at a time when we had awkward relations with China? And they renewed their commitment to the 2003 ceasefire, which had been actually perhaps the best one we'd had for quite some time. Even though they did that in 2021, a change of personnel at the top of the army is all it took for Pahalgam to happen on April 22, 2025. And so at the end of the day, I don't think India had very much choice in how to react about all this. In my book, Pax Indica, which was published in 2012, I had warned that if there was ever another Mumbai, another attack of comparable impact with clear evidence of Pakistani complicity, that the restraint we had shown in 2008 might be impossible and all bets would be off. And indeed, that's exactly what happened. I didn't feel that any democratic government, least of all India, with all the record of betrayals by Pakistan, one after the other, could sit idle while a neighbor assaults its civilians and innocent holidaymakers with impunity. And that's why that warning found its response in Operation Sindoor. I mean, some of you may be aware that a couple of days after Pahalgam, I wrote an op-ed in the Indian Express advocating precisely this. The headline they gave, it was a good headline, was hit hard but hit smart. That is, hit hard because kinetic response was unavoidable. We simply could not afford to turn the other cheek. We cannot let them believe they can do this with impunity. At the same time, don't forget that development is our larger goal. We can't afford this to be seen as the first salvo in a protracted war. Therefore, hit smart, precise, calibrated, targeted attacks. And you can imagine my satisfaction and semi-disbelief, because I didn't realize that anybody in Delhi would be reading my op-ed. I did exactly that, and Operation Sindoor a few weeks later followed, which is why I was such an enthusiastic supporter of it. It followed exactly the course of action I had advised in my op-ed just after Pahalgam. So, to my mind, with Balakot of 2019 and now Operation Sindoor, India has sent a very clear and unambiguous message that we would not hesitate to go to war if terrorism is unleashed in our soil in this manner. And I think the fact that we battered their defenses as much as we did, with the 11 air bases being struck, the significant demolition of facilities. There was a command and control center that was so badly damaged that subsequently it has been dismantled, as commercially available satellite pictures have demonstrated. And the devastating effect of the BrahMos was demonstrated as well. I think that we've now sent an unambiguous message. Now, I take the point of those who said today on stage that surely we don't believe that this is going to end terrorism from Pakistan. Of course we don't. The facilities we've destroyed can all be rebuilt within 6 to 9 months and probably will be. But the intent may have been shaken a little bit. And certainly the successful strikes of the night of 9th, 10th May, and the ability of India to intercept the attempted Pakistani response when they sent missiles to Delhi on the morning of the 10th, I think was what contributed undoubtedly, and not Mr. Trump, to the call by the Pakistani DGMO to his Indian counterpart asking for peace. Yes, General Munir or Field Marshal Munir has been rattling the nuclear saber thereafter. He has already announced in Washington that if Pakistan were attacked, they would take half the world with them. I am not particularly inclined to worry too much about this kind of bravado. And I think, as Major General Mehta put it aptly in the first chapter of this book, it's merely one more confirmation that India-Pakistan relations are all snakes and no ladders, which I think is an apt way of putting it. And yet, as a former UN official, and this is where the sort of Mani Shankar Iyer advice comes back to me, I know it's not enough to simply give up trying. It's never wise, of course, to indulge in hypotheticals, but pragmatism does demand that we ask, how do we navigate this terrain? How do we create even a narrow opening for something of a serious thaw? Even if we were to go back to the sort of the brief periods of tranquility we've had, 2003 to 7, but earlier there were other windows when we had pretty decent relations with Pakistan. I would even say the Zia years up to his assassination weren't that bad in terms of our relations. We were playing cricket with each other regularly, we were visiting each other, and so on and so forth. What I would congratulate Surendra Kumar for is that this book does succeed in asking that question of the contributors, and it brings various perspectives together on what can and must be done to move the relationship forward, if at all possible. And I should stress that India has never said we are not open to normalizing relations with Pakistan. We have merely said that given the record of Pakistani behavior, the onus is on them. They're the ones who have to take the first steps to show some sincerity about dismantling the terror infrastructure on their lands. Why can't they be serious about shutting down these terror camps? Everyone knows where they are. The UN committee has a list of 52 names of individuals, organizations, and places in Pakistan. It's not that Pakistan doesn't know they exist, nor their sponsors. Shut them down, arrest some of these characters, show some serious intent, and I think India will be only too happy to reciprocate. But in the absence of anything other than words, how do we take those words seriously when those words have been betrayed time and time again? And when even sincere voices, I mean, I have no doubt that the Zardari government was sincere about peace when they were in power before 2008 and right up to November 26, 2008, they were sincere. But the fact is, they are then either unable or unwilling to prevent the malign men who may order these terrorists to come from getting away with it. So unless some gestures are made from there, I have to say that words alone are not going to be enough from Pakistan.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow us.